Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. We're live. And welcome to Wednesday Live. Welcome to Home Built Workshop. What's going on? Hope everyone is doing awesome this morning, or evening, or afternoon. Because, well, looks like we've got them all covered. Mike's here. Mike says morning. Sam's here. Sam says hello, everyone. And Harry Dude says, what's up? What's going on? How's everybody's day going? Right on, right on. As we get settled in here at the shop to hang out for a bit. Cheers, everyone. I don't know what's going on here, but what's everybody up to? Nice, right on. Well, it's a new day here, I guess. Today's the first day of school starting back up here, which is kind of crazy to think about. So we had to get back into the morning routine. It's kind of wild. It's hard to believe that we've gone through the summer break already. So schools are back in session as of today here. Well, some of ours have started at different times, but at least my daughter's school has started this morning. Pretty wild. But although that means we're not going to have the summer days to hang out and do things, it does mean a little bit more shop time. And that's going to be, I'm going to be looking forward to that a little bit. It'll take a couple days probably, but because I got some projects, well, mainly a project that I got to get wrapped up, and I'm hoping that I can get most of that done this week. We're going to get to that very quickly, though. I want to know what you all are working on. Dastardly Dave's here. What's up, Dave? Mike says, just another day. Wishing I was in the shop playing with wood. Right on. Robert says, howdy, folks. Morning, Robert. How are you this fine Wednesday morning? And there it is. Bam! Sam coming in with the super chat. Says, towards a drink, keep hydrated, legend. Right on, Sam. Thank you. Thank you. Keeping that coffee cup filled. I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, while you are letting me know what you're working on, let me show you what I've been working on as much as I can. I'm just going to grab this one because it's all together-ish. This is the righty. Ow. The righty subtonic is, I'm smashing into stuff, be careful, is at least bolted together. It's about as far as I got. I'm going to be doing this same thing to the lefty as soon as we're done. We got tuners in place. Last week we were talking about the logo placement. I really wanted to have it in the middle, but once I had flipped it for the lefty, because it needs to be mirrored, I discovered that it didn't fit quite as well, and I'd have to like shrink it down and flip it around and play around with it, because I basically want it in the same spot, just mirrored, and that was a little tricky. So I decided to just put it across the top. We've got serial number and stuff laser engraved in the back, and it's coming along pretty good. The lefty is pretty much in the same state, except nothing's bolted together yet. I need to drill the holes. I need to drill the holes for the controls, for the wiring, zip a hole straight down through here, and then one at an angle into the control cavity. Actually, I need to do that on the righty because I got a few minutes yesterday and just bolted it together and realized I forgot to drill the holes. So got to take that back apart, drill some holes, and really just start getting things mounted. And I think hopefully we'll be making some noise on this thing in, man, hopefully maybe tomorrow, maybe by the end of the week at least. I should be able to by Friday. Get some noise coming out of this thing. So I'm kind of working on the video for this at the same time. But I do know that now that schools are back in session, it's going to have, I'm going to have a little bit more time to work on things. So that's what I'm trying to get cranked out. I want to get these wrapped up. These first demo versions. I don't know what we'll call them. But, going back to the comments here. Harry Dude says, I wish I had time for some personal projects. A bit swamped with work at the moment, but when work is quiet, I have no money for personal projects. Can't win. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, or whatever it is that they call it. Yeah, if you're not doing stuff, you got nothing for personal projects. I know what you mean. Dastardly Dave says, finished the 100-ounce guitar for the contest with Texas Toast Guitars. Nice. What was the final weight you ended up with? Be curious. And Scott says, hey, Jeff, I get to watch. Right on, Scott. Good morning. How are you doing this fine Wednesday morning? And Donna's here. Donna says, coffee up all. Cheers. Coffee cheers. It's pretty good. I had to make a last-minute stop this morning. It's completely unrelated. Speaking of coffee, though. You ever come out in the morning to make your coffee and you realize you only have like a tiny little bit of half and half left? So I had to quick run to the store after I dropped the kiddo off at school so that I could have half and half to make this cup of coffee. Because I didn't want to just have one. We can't slack on the coffee. Dave says, sweet bakes, Jeff. Thanks, Dave. I'm really excited for this. As you know, it's been in the works for a long, long time. And to be at this step to where really all I need to do is bolt it together, wire it up. I don't even know how to explain it. It's a pretty good feeling, especially since, like I said, it's been in the works for so long. To finally be at this step is super cool. And I really like the design. I really like the way everything looks, and I'm just excited to get this thing together. I can't wait, and it'll be very soon. Sam says, when doing preview photos for the stream starts, we only see half of your face. Yes, I know. I do that on purpose. I just kind of like peek into the frame. Then that way I can kind of show something in the background. It's kind of, I don't know. It's intentional. Robert says that placement works all right. Yeah, I like it. For some reason, like we talked about last week, I do like it to where it's, horizontal when you're playing it. I really like that placement, but I just couldn't quite get it to work the way I wanted to with mirroring it. And if I spent a little bit more time, I might be able to. And that might be something I play around with in the future. Just messing with that placement. Because I think the hard part is getting it to work around the tuner bushings, because that does take up a little bit of extra real estate. Not a lot, but I mean, this is something that I have to play around with. Because it does take a little extra space there. But yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it up there at the top. Now I got the bushing stuck in there. But we'll see. Might be something I play around with. Maybe the first runs have the logo at the top. We'll see. I like it in both spots, but yeah, I don't know. Mike says wireless pickups. I gotta have wires that run down to the controls, so I can, volume, tone, selector switch, all that sort of thing. I think I have all the parts in too. They're over there in a box, but I think I got all the parts. Harry Dude says, what machine heads did you end up going with? These are Goto. I don't know if it'll focus on that. These are Goto tuners. I forget the exact model. It's not the stamped steel, the Christmas tree looking thing. I've used these on, well, when I made that Thunderbird base, I used these same tuners. And they seem to work just fine. I don't remember the ratio. I don't remember any of the specs. I guess I'm kind of slacking on that. But pretty much all my builds, I use the Goto tuners, and they seem to work just fine. They have, they feel nice and smooth. I wish I could remember the name, but I don't have the package here. But yeah, man, I don't know. Excuse me. Sorry. I don't know what's going on in my throat. Not the stamped steel things that always seem weird to me. But these ones seem to work well. Pretty much all my other builds, the acoustics as well as the solid bodies, all have Goto tuners in some version. But yeah, they seem to work pretty good. From my experience, the Gotos seem to be decent quality for the price. And this, I don't know, it's just the ones that I kind of like to use. Dave says 99.9 ounces. Oh man, you just squeaked in there. That's awesome. Nice. Right on. So I don't know all the details, but apparently, for those of you if you're not familiar with what Dave's talking about, the guys over at Texas Toast Guitars, which are actually, they're only about an hour and 20 minutes north of me, up in the Denver area, from my understanding. But they're doing some sort of a contest where you have to build a guitar that is under 100 ounces. And yeah, Dave, you made it. Well done. When does all of that stuff take place, Dave? The contest and everything. And I saw somebody else post something that they had to take it to Denver. So is this an in-person thing, or how does that work? Can you give us a little bit more information on that? Scott says, can't get enough things done and fixed around the house to actually work on a project. I spent 2 hours last night replacing network jacks, a wireless AP, upgrading the firmware on everything. Isn't that the worst? When you buy a new piece of hardware of some sort and you turn it on and it says, oh, firmware update required, or something along those lines. Paul's here. Paul, good morning. Paul says, hello all. What's going on, Paul? How are you doing this fine morning? And, oh, because you missed it, Paul, I'll show you where I'm at, what I got going on here. And you can't laugh because this one's not backwards. It's not backwards. It's all bolted together. Like I said earlier, schools have just started, so it means a little bit more shop time. So hopefully this thing will be getting wrapped up mighty soon. Scott says network problems. Oh man, that's no fun. That is no fun. Sam says, I'm going to need some help with sending that package. Haven't forgotten. Just not sure how to go about sending chocolate. I don't know, Sam. I don't really have any insight on that. Dastardly Dave says we were allowed 100 ounces plus or minus an ounce. Oh, okay. So you're good. Oh, so it has to be right at 100 ounces. Ah, that's a little detail that I did not know. Wow. So everybody has to try to shoot for 100 ounces. Huh, interesting. I ought to weigh this and see what it weighs, just because I'm curious. Paul says, looks good. Thanks, Paul. So far, so good. Robert says the base body's very nice looking grain and color. Since you put the finish on it, nice warm colors. Yes, it this is pretty much exactly the color that I was expecting. Being as I've used this wood before, this is elm, Siberian elm, or I think otherwise also known as Chinese elm. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think Siberian elm is Chinese elm. I'm not sure. But I've used this a lot, and I really like the color. You know, it's not quite that brown of a walnut, but I have used different finishes on this before, and I did think that, I don't have a good example. I did think it might have gotten a tiny bit browner, but yeah, I really like this. You know, it's just a simple oil wax finish, and it feels cool, feels waxy and nice. I think it's going to work really good. Kind of an experiment, just to see how this kind of a finish works. I also have the same finish on the neck. You know, it's a satin finish. It's actually a little glossier than I expected. I may take a Scotch-Brite and just knock that down a little bit, but it's not quite completely cured yet, as I can feel just a little bit of tackiness. I did put another coat on this last night, so that would make sense. But yeah, it's coming along. Dave says, no ballast for me. Right on. So is that, I imagine if somebody had something too light, they'd be adding some weight to it to try to bump that weight up a little bit. Time Surfing Alien. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Time Surfing Alien. How are you doing this morning? Scott says, what was the finish you applied to the guitars? This particular round of guitars, this is Osmo oil. It's their top oil, I believe it's called. Not sponsored or anything, but it's Osmo oil. Wanted to try that out, see how that works. The top oil it's a high solids product, I guess. It's got more solids than like their normal oil. I don't know. I'm not up on all of the details for every single one of their products, but I know this is a higher solid version of it, so it builds up a little bit better. It's a little bit thicker, but it's a little trickier to apply than I initially thought, but really not too bad. But you really have to follow the instructions. But so far I'm liking it. Once I understood kind of the characteristics a little bit, I think it's going to work out pretty good. Pretty easy to apply, really, and no spray equipment. I mean, and it's a pretty nice finish. Little bit of a gloss on there. This is the satin, but yeah, I like it so far. We'll see how it holds up. It is supposed to be more durable since it is a higher solid product. Supposed to be, it's water resistant, and one thing that it said was, what does it say? Like perspiration resistant or something along those lines, which I thought would be cool, and mainly kind of the reason I wanted to try it on these. If you're playing a gig at a club or something, I don't know about you, but I sweat like you're spraying me with a water hose most of the time. And, I thought it'd be a cool finish to put on a guitar. So I think it'll work good. Harry Dude says, those Goto tuners are my favorite for bass. I think they're the GB7. It doesn't, you might be right. But yeah, it doesn't say on there. Or does it? Is it cast into this end? I can't see it. It almost looks like there is some sort of casting. Well, that says Japan. I don't know. I can't see that. But yeah, as long as it's not the stamped steel tuner thingy. And yeah. Drissy Guitars! Good morning. What's going on? Paul says, Texas guitars in Colorado? Yeah, that's okay, since Colorado used to be part of Texas. Congrats. Hard to make one that light. Yes. Yeah, it is. That's pretty light. Yeah, I thought that was weird when I first heard about those guys, Texas Toast. I just assumed that they were in Texas. I mean, why not, right? And it was probably, I don't know, like a year or more later before I ever learned that they weren't in Texas. they're they're up in the Denver area. I actually got to meet one of the guys at the guitar show this past spring, winter, whatever, in March. One of them came out, checked out the show. I got to meet him, chat with him for a few minutes. It was pretty cool. Dastardly Dave. Dave was spreading the word. Oh, let's see. Mike says, so now that you have the models for your neck and body for the CNC, what's your time saving for reproducibility and future sales, etc.? That's a great question, because most of the time was spent in prototyping, fine-tuning, getting things ironed out. And so now that I have all of that figured out, if I wanted to make another one, really, I have my set of G-code files all saved, and they're all labeled, numbered, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the bits. Everything's ready to go. All I really need to do is prepare a blank and for both the body and the neck. So, depending on what needs to be done for that, let's say if the neck blank was already prepared, I could throw it on the machine right now. There's four sets of G codes I need to run. Then I would glue on the fretboard, and then I would run like another 4 or 5 different cut paths. I could, if I started early, I could have the neck cut out, fretboard, everything, by the end of the day. Not frets in it or anything, but the fret slots would be cut, fretboard markers would be in. Of course, I have to leave time in there for the glue to dry. So if I cut it now, what is it, 9:30 or so, I could probably get the first one done by about 3 hours. I could have the neck done in one day. The body I could have cut out basically to this stage minus sanding in about half a day. So actually I could cut out the body while I was waiting for the fretboard glue to dry, and I might be able to get them both cut out in a day. I know that, which really I think that's pretty good. I do have some feeds and speeds I know that I can still play around with, as I know that my cuts are very conservative because I don't want to break bits. I've broken so many bits in the testing that I've ended up slowing things down a bit, which I'm okay with. If it takes a little bit longer to do a particular task, I'm not there at the machine, so what, I guess, right? let it take a little bit longer. But yeah, I mean, I could have all of this done almost in a day. I mean, it'd be a full day because I got to wait for glue to dry and stuff, and that's also assuming that all the blanks are prepared. So I don't know anybody else's process. I can't compare that, I don't really even need to compare, nor do I want to. But yeah, a day or so of machine time, and I'll have a neck and a body ready for sanding, pretty much. Dastardly Dave says, Saturday at the shop, doors open at noon, contest at 1. It can be in person or not. Your guitar can be mailed to the shop. Guitar has to physically be there to compete. No photos. Nice. So are you shipping yours out there, or are you coming out? Dave says, thanks, Paul. My guitar I made last year for the $400 contest was under 100 ounces by a lot. Dang. I'm going to have to measure this just because I'm curious. You know, a lot of people talk about, you know, the weight of a particular instrument. I don't know if I've really ever weighed any of mine, so I'll have to weigh this bass when I get everything on there. And Tony's here. Tony says, morning, sunshine. Good morning, Tony. How are you this morning? Dave says you met Chris from Texas Toast. Yeah, Chris came out to the booth, and we got to chat for a few minutes, and it was pretty cool. Robert says, if you ever want to fill the grain, but keep the natural wood color, the Aqua Coat grain filler seems to work well. Can still be stained before or after sealing and use an oil finish. Yes, I do. I have Aqua Coat, and it works really well. I've used it on several builds. I thought about grain filling this, but I kind of like the open grain. It's to me, it's like a bit of a kind of an ash type grain, kind of. Where you kind of get these, where are they? You kind of get these, deeper streaks. They're just not as wide as like what you might typically find on ash, but I like it. That Aquacoat stuff does work really well. Another one that works well too, in my experience, is the Crystalac filler. It's kind of similar, kind of a pasty kind of thing. You just mash it on there. But yeah, Aquacoat and Crystalac are the ones that I've used with great success. I mean, I have some Timbermate. It's a little bit different stuff. It works pretty well too. But as far as the clear fillers go, the Crystalac and the Aquacoat both work really well. And I've used them, with stains and without stains and with different finishes, and never had an issue. Corey's here. Corey says, what's up? What's up, Corey? How are you doing this fine Wednesday? Right on. Robert says Aquacoat is clear. Yes, so is the Crystalac. The Crystalac is clear as well. Whereas Timbermate stuff is not. The Band-Aid filler. It smells like Band-Aids. But it works really well too. And you can water it down, which is kind of neat to make it more liquidy. Technical term. And I believe the Timbermate's made in Australia, Harry Dude, I think. I don't want to say that wrong. I'm pretty sure it is. Where did I see that? Yes, made in Australia. KK's here. KK, what's going on? KK says, hello from Greece. Glad I caught up with you. Because my friend Jeff, learning a lot of useful things. Above all, hope we're all healthy. I'm waiting for the viewers to increase. Right on, KK. How are you? How's everything in Greece? Hope you're doing well. We're doing good here. Just, trying to get some things done, and everything's going well. Everyone's healthy. Our schools started back up today, which is hard to believe for me. Had to drop the kiddo off at the first day of school. Yeah, wow. Where does the time go? Shiriam says, how polished wood? Not with polished paste. Oh, how do you polish wood without polish paste? I'm guessing. Let me think about that. I don't know would be my first answer. It depends on the finish that you're trying to polish, right? If you're, let's just say, for example, you're working on, I don't know, let's just say a guitar. The finish that you have applied is going to make a difference in the way you achieve, the way you polish it, right? If it's just an oil finish that soaks into the wood, I mean, there's a pretty good chance that you're not going to be polishing that because the oil soaks into the wood. When you're polishing up an instrument, you're going to want to polish, most of the time you're going to polish up a finish that is laying on top of the wood, like a lacquer or a polyurethane or, some form of film building finish. And it's called that because it builds up a film right on top of the wood. When you spray on, let's just, you spray on lacquer layer after layer, now you've got a coating on top of the wood. From there, you're going to need some sort of a polish to polish that out. But this particular instrument does not have a big thick film on top of it. I wanted to be able to feel the wood. If the only thing that I'm going to do with this is I'm taking a microfiber cloth and I'll probably just go around this thing, just to, it smooth out any sort of irregularities, but it's not going to polish it up to a high gloss because I don't have a high gloss finish on there. But I have found that once this is dried, I can take this and kind of polish it by hand, and it doesn't make a dramatic difference, but it does make it feel nice and smooth. So I guess it depends on what you're trying to polish. In my experience, if you're trying to polish a finish that is like a lacquer or a poly, a layer building finish, most likely you're going to need some sort of a polishing paste. You can still do it by hand, but you need some sort of a paste, a compound, buffing compound, to really get in there and polish things up. Now there are other finishes like a French polish type of finish, where you're buffing, not buffing, where you're rubbing the finish into the wood. There may be some things there that you could do a little bit differently, but I'm not familiar with French polishing because that's just not my forte. So I guess we need some more information, like what kind of a finish are you trying to polish? And then maybe we can give some more direction on that. Scott says the open grain looks good on that wood. Yes, I like this. And that's why I decided to go with an oil finish, just because I really like the grain on elm. Elm's become one of my favorite woods, really. I like the color. Like I said, not quite as brown as walnut, but nowhere near the lightness of maple and that sort of thing. And I just really like it. The grain gets that dark, kind of those dark lines. It's just, I don't know, to me, it's just cool. He says another option for filling the grain is to apply your finish, then sand. The dust from sanding will fill the grain. Yes, you're absolutely correct. I've tried that before as well. Sam says, perhaps make glow-in-the-dark guitar sets for programmed lighting blackout periods, such as end of a song, where it lights up or something. That would be kind of cool. I have seen stuff like that. People will put, underneath the fretboard, they'll put LEDs, in the markers and also on the sides, which I think is cool. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll play with it. Corey says, waking up with a good cup of coffee and still in price shock. Price shock? What happened? Or the price shock at your cup of coffee? Cheers. Oh, Dave says, Dave's flying out. Oh man, I wonder if I can get up there. Is it open to the public at all, or do you have to be in the contest? I don't know if I can get up there this weekend, but it would be cool. Paul says, the lightest guitar that I built was made from reclaimed pallets that I sent to Daryl Braun about 2 years ago. It was 6 pounds, 4 ounces. Interesting. Yeah, I remember that one that you sent to Daryl. Yeah, I mean, he did the video and stuff on it, which was that was cool. I'm trying to think the lightest one that I made. Actually, I'd have to weigh it. I have one, kind of a telly style, that I built from all pallet wood. Everything on it was pallet wood. One of my earlier builds. But actually, I really like this guitar. And it's a lefty. It was unintentionally a lefty. It wasn't supposed to be a lefty. But I just kind of got in a zone. And when I put my templates on, I wasn't really before I drilled any holes, I stuck the template on the wrong side, not really thinking, and started drilling one of the, I don't know, pickup cavity or neck cavity or neck, neck pocket or something. And as soon as the drill bit touched the wood, I realized that I was on the lefty side. So, but it's made out of, let's see, the body, I believe the body is all, I think the body is pine of some sort. I don't know exactly what. But then it has a pine top, actually 1/4 inch top of pine. The neck is made out of poplar with a walnut. It's a 3-piece neck, so poplar, and walnut down the center. The fretboard is walnut, and I actually found walnut on a pallet. And that thing is so light, and it rings out so well. And that's one of the reasons I really like this guitar. I keep having it up for sale, and since there's not too many lefties, I still have it, and every time I play it, it's one of those that, like, man, I wonder if I should just keep this thing because it's super cool. It is really light. I should weigh it. Shuriam says another polishing, Japanese old technique polishing after P2000 grits was small river stone. Yes. Yeah. So you're gonna sand it with a very high grit, abrasive sandpaper, and then you polish it up. I've not heard of the stone, but absolutely, I could see that happening. That's cool. I'd like to. That'd be interesting to know more about that technique because it sounds cool. Dave says, perfect, Paul. You could enter that. I'll have to weigh mine and see what that reclaimed wood one that I built weighs. Robert says, some woods that are real dense will get at least a satin finish with fine grit sandpaper. Satin finish can be achieved on an ebony wood. Yes. I don't know if you can see that, but if you see the fretboard right there, see that sheen? I don't know. Hopefully it's coming through. At least up here. Where'd it go? I lost it. I had it at an angle where you could sort of see it. But anyway, this is 2000 grit. I sand the fretboard up to 2000, and it'll get a coat of oil before I'm done. But that's 2000, and that's sort of the sheen you get. And there's no finish on that right now. Corey says, having my teeth removed and have dentures put in, and the price of dentures is close to $5,000. Woo! That now I get it. Sticker shock. Yeah, wow, that's crazy, Corey. But I wish you the best in that. Right on. And look who's here. Bearded Vikings here. Says, hey, what's going on? Bearded Viking, what are you up to this morning? How's everything going in your neck of the woods? Right on. Lunch break? Right on. Harry Dude says, I've been buffing and polishing gloss polyurethane with Autosol chrome polish, paste, and liquid. Works a treat. First used it because it was all I had, and I've stuck with it ever since. I have heard more than one person talk about using Autosol. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. I've switched up some of my polishing processes, over the years, but still nothing drastic. The first several guitars and I've done other projects too where I had to polish some things. I used, Meguiar's Ultimate Polish that you can pick up like at the auto parts store. That with a microfiber buffing pad on my random orbit sander, and it works great. But lately I have, probably 2 years ago, maybe, I switched over to using the 3M Perfect It system, which is actually it's more work, but the finish I think you get is so much better, in my opinion. Whereas before I was using the McGuire's polish with this buffing pad, the I can't remember the name of it now, Sure Buff pads on my random orbit sander, and it does a really good job. It wasn't until I actually tried this 3-step Perfect It system, the clarity I think is so much better, because you go through 3 different grits. It's almost like sanding, right? You're going to wet sand at maybe 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, so you're going to progressively step up. Well, the polishes do the exact same thing, and you start out with the white polish with a white pad, and it's the most abrasive, even though it's not really, it's not that abrasive. So you buff it out with that, and it gets shiny, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And like, how can it get much shinier than that? Well, then you step up to the gray pad and the gray polish, the gray compound, and you buff it, and you go, oh, what? Wow, it did. And then you step up to the finest, which is the blue pad and the blue compound, and by the time you're done with that, you're like, I didn't even know you could get something that shiny. But yeah, there's tons of different ways to do it. No, not one is right or wrong. It's just whatever works for you. Oh, I didn't tell you guys. I recently was gifted from a local guitar builder a buffer, an arbor buffer thing. It's actually still in the back of my vehicle because I haven't found a spot to put it yet. But it was super awesome, with the big buffs and everything. So I'm actually looking forward to putting that to work. I just gotta continue with the cleanup here. Maybe once these bases are done, I'm gonna try to find a spot for it. So I'm gonna I gotta put on my thinking cap because I gotta find some room. Bearded Viking says, trying to stay dry with this Debbie storm. Yes, I hope I hope everybody that is in the path is okay. I don't know too many of the details and stuff about it, but I hear it's causing some troubles. I do want to wish everyone that has to deal with that, including you, my friend. I hope you guys stay safe and dry and all that, because yeah, apparently it's no joke. Bearded Viking says, last December the shop flooded with 2.5 feet of water with a king tide and lots of rain. Luckily there is no king tide with this storm, so no flooded shop so far. Can't work because roads are closed. Good grief. 2.5 feet? So I'm not familiar. What is the king tide? Are you able to elaborate on that? I don't know. I've never lived in a coastal type area. So I don't really know what all that stuff is. But man, I hope everything stays dry. I hope it does. Man, Bearded Viking, thinking about you there, brother. Stay safe, and everybody over there, stay safe. Harry Dude says, jealous. I want to convert a bench grinder to a dual buffing wheel. I wonder, you'd probably have to be a slow speed bench grinder, wouldn't it? Because don't they spin at like 1,800, 1,750 or something RPM? So your buffs would be spinning at about 1,000,000 miles an hour. This one is a motor with a separate deal. Very similar to like the StuMac thing. Pulley, and it's pulley reduced to somewhere, you said around that 700, 800 RPM. Like I said, I haven't tried it. I haven't used it yet just because I don't know where I'm going to put it. It's not, it's made to just bring out, set on your table kind of thing, not a pedestal mount, which I definitely don't have a spot for, but I can move stuff out, set it on the bench, and that's what this one's designed to be able to do. Paul says, Harry Dude, where are you located? Harry Dude is in Australia. Bearded Viking says, oh, it's the full moon tide. Okay. So that makes it like bigger, like, I don't know, pulls back and gathers more water, and I don't know, I'm just assuming. But that makes sense. Corey says, king tides are bigger than your normal tides. We get king tides on the Oregon coast. Interesting. Heritage says, I'm in Melbourne. Says that should be Melbourne. I promise I can spell proper. That's funny. Melbourne. Oh, I like it. Dave says, watch the RPMs grinders run too fast. That's my first thought. Mine, I built a very simple buffer several years ago, using just a motor, with an arbor that clamps onto the shaft of the motor. Now this motor spins at 1700 RPMs, and I do know that it'll do the job, but the very first time that I used it to polish frets, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. I can just zip and be done. I had the fretboard taped off, like you normally do. I did my leveling, crowning, all that stuff, but I decided to use this buffer, the one that I made, where the buff is attached directly to the motor. It got hot instantly because it was spinning way too fast. And it didn't damage the fretboard, but it did melt the tape into the finish. So I had an awful time getting the tape off there and getting that all cleaned up because it got so hot. And it was literally just a across the buffing wheel, and it was smoking hot. So I don't use that buffer a whole lot, mainly because I need to relocate the motor. And if I'm going to continue to use it anyway, I need to relocate the motor, add a pulley reduction to like a 2-to-1 to slow that thing down a ton. Which then means I got to add pillow blocks and a separate shaft, and I'm basically going to build a whole new one. Sam says, what is up with YouTube cramming adverts into streams? Understand they pay YouTubers, but they're doubled up, unskippable, and normally irrelevant to the stream. Now the streams are full of pop-ups. Yeah, I know. I got nothing to add to that. But they change the formats every so often, and you get unskippable and skippable ads, and I don't know. Paul says, crud. I have a dual buffer, bench style, almost new, that I don't use. Would have sent it to you if you paid shipping, but won't be worth sending there. Too costly. Heritage says, oh, thanks anyway. Probably couldn't use it. We're on 240 here. Oh, yeah, that's right. He says, yeah, it's 120. Yep, so everything, right, Harry Dude? And I think in the UK as well, Sam? Everything's 240? So, like, you can't plug anything 110 in? I think. That's just interesting to me. That everybody else uses 240 like nothing, and over here, 240 here is like industrial power, or something like that. And the rest of the world's like, yeah, our toothbrush runs off 240. Mike says, when the sun and moon align, they pull the water and cause larger tidal fluctuations. Google it. I think I'll have to. Heritage says, thinking I might put the bench grinder on a lighting dimmer to slow down. That's a good idea. Yeah, one of those router speed box thingies. I've not ever used one, but I've seen a lot of people use them for stuff. So then you can just slow it down. That's a good idea. Paul says that should work. Dave says, don't quote me, but bench grinder is like 3,400 RPM. Bench buffer is like 1,700. StuMac is 900. Do your own research. Yes. Dave, I believe you're correct, although I can't speak for the bench grinder. That I'm not sure. I can dig mine out and look at it, but I think for buffing like guitars and stuff, you should be around that 800-900 RPM, and, just to slow it down so that it doesn't get so hot. Another advantage of the slower speeds is the little homemade one that I made that's running at 1750 or whatever it is. If it catches a part, you better not be holding it where it can fly towards you. So I always hold towards the bottom of the wheel, because it's spinning this way, it's spinning down. If it catches, that part is flying. I actually built a little piece of, or I mounted a piece of plexiglass behind it because I had pieces sailing everywhere. Especially until I got used to it. But yeah, just be careful of that. If it's spinning really fast, it means it's when not if, when it catches something, it's gonna send it sailing across the shop. But yeah, you're right, Dave. Like a normal electric motor could be either 1750 or 3400. But a buffer should be that 8 to 900, so like half of that. Scott says, Paul, where you located? Paul says, I went back to using a car buffing system for polishing my guitars. Works once better. Yes, that is basically what I do. I grew up, I've mentioned before, in an auto body type setting. With my dad running an auto body shop since before I was born, and he still does. He's still's out there painting heavy equipment and all that sort of thing. And so all of the automotive techniques are in my brain. So I use the system that I use is developed for it's made for auto body, and it works great. I get the supplies at my auto body supply house. A lot of the stuff that I use, I get all my wet dry sandpaper from the auto body supply house, sanding blocks. I'll get those foam. I don't have one out here. Hard rubber, what is that? I don't remember what they call it. The hard rubber foam rubber, different shaped blocks. I get a lot of stuff from my auto body place, especially when it comes to finishing. A lot of that stuff is, it doesn't mean you have to just use it on a car. It works great for this sort of thing because really, we're using different materials. Yes, it's wood, right? But it's just got to finish, just like a car. So there's no reason you can't go to these other suppliers and get different materials for it. And a lot of time it's cheaper. If you buy everything from the luthier supply shops, there's that luthier tax, that gets added to it just because of the word luthier. So there's other places you get your supplies from, save you some money, and sometimes it's even better quality. Your results might vary, but Sam says 230 now in the UK. Building sites run 110 for safety. Really? Interesting. Paul says, I could set it up to buff my pens and bowls then. Yes, you could. Buff the pen. Just don't let it send it across the shop. It'd be like a little projectile. Paul says, Dallas area. Adonna says, any thoughts on building furniture? Maybe making a side small business. Oh, that sounds awesome. First off, I say go for it. Just jump in, get it done. Any thoughts? It depends on what you're wanting to make. Tables and stuff like that. I don't really know. I haven't really built things like chairs and stuff, so I can't really speak into that. But I think there's a great. I think it's a great idea. First of all, and just I'm trying to think. What would I say? If you're thinking about doing it, just do it. Jump in, give it a shot. I'm brainstorming. I'm trying to think of something. Let me think about that for a minute, Donna. What sort of furniture are you thinking of first? Maybe that'll help me think of some things. So let me know. Heritage says we're 240 everywhere. We can get step down to run 110 to 120. Old par can stage lights were 120, so we used to run them in series with adapters to run them on 240. Interesting. Heritage says don't buy shielding paint from a luthier supply shop. Yeah, luthier tax. It says much cheaper from an electronics supplier. Yeah, good idea. Oh, Harry dude, how timely you mentioned that. I want to know your guys' opinions on shielding for a bass. Passive pickups. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to shield these. What's your guys' experience? The only other base that I've built, I did shield. I don't know if I needed to, but would you shield them? Pickups I'm using are just these kind of soap bar style. I don't even know if that's a humbucker. But I don't know. Completely passive. Don't know if I should shield it or not. Kind of going back and forth. Part of me says, no, don't do it. But I don't know. Paul says, I use copper foil for the components. Used to buy it from StuMac, but now get it from Temu. I know Temu. Just as good and tons cheaper, plus bigger rolls. Yeah, I do the same, Paul. All of my solid body, my electric guitar builds, I shield. I shield with copper foil. I shield the entire control cavity, the control plate, or the cover, all that. I shield everything. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if I need to do that for a bass, really. Just thought I'd throw that out there. I really don't know if it's worth it or not. Maybe the paint. Maybe I get some paint. I think paint's easier. Although there is something that I do enjoy about trying to get the copper foil in there looking nice. It's a challenge. But I don't know. I don't know if I should shield it or not. I haven't opened up enough bases, to be completely honest, to see if other bases have shielding. I've never even taken like a P base or a J base apart. I don't know. Time Surfing says Faraday knew a thing or two. Yes, he did. The old Faraday cage. Hair Dude says I would shield them. Use paint if you can. Usually use aluminum foil on cavities and pig guards. Yeah, maybe I should look into the paint and try that, because I always try to make my copper foil look as nice as possible, right? So you open it up and it's all shiny and smooth, but it's kind of hard to do with all the different contours and things. But I might have to get some of the paint. Mike says, why not shield? If it's your prototype and doesn't work, then shield later. Not difficult. No to paint. Nice copper lining. I do like the look of the copper. It is kind of cool. Paul says a split coil precision won't need shielding like a jazz. Trouble with single coil jazz pickups is that if you blend, the noise from one pickup is going to be greater than the countering noise in the other pickups. A jazz with both pickups full volume will inherently hum cancel. If you're going to be blending, having it shielded will help keep noise down. Interesting. Mike says, no paint, just seems cheap. Drizzy Guitar says the paint shielding is messy. Yes, I did try that. I did try that once, just experimenting with some of it. I think I had this little tiny bottle that a friend of mine gave me, and I just experimented with it. It is kind of hard to get it to lay nice and smooth too. I think an airbrush would be cool if you could like airbrush that on there, so it lays in nice and neat. Sam says, perhaps make a guitar to connect to a computer rather than a traditional method. Has like USB or something, has some sort of a processor thingy in it. That'd be interesting. Now mine, I can just, of course I have an interface, so I just plug it in. I can just plug mine into the computer. But it has to run through the interface. It's not designed directly to plug in, but yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. Let's see. Paint a body you're building, foil for an existing. Oh, okay, I got you. Paint for a scratch build, foil for an existing. Paint looks neater in my opinion. Yeah, honestly, I've seen both of them done. I've seen people that can lay copper foil that looks impeccable. And those are the ones that make me try to get mine to look as nice, although I don't feel that they ever do. And I've also seen the painted on stuff that looks equally as flawless. I haven't been able to achieve either results, but I do like the look of the copper foil. I think it does look cool. Um, just you pull the cover off and it's shiny, and I don't know. Let's see. Paul says they make Bluetooth audio jacks now. Should connect to a computer Bluetooth without much trouble. Oh man, that would be interesting. Huh. That would be interesting. I have to research that a little bit. A Bluetooth jack. I think the problem with Bluetooth, it'd be almost like a built-in wireless. But I think the problem is Bluetooth has such a short range. But if it's made for sitting at your computer, why not? I'm thinking like for a gig or something. Like, how cool would that be? Like the guitar just is wireless. And a lot of guys nowadays, run their rigs into like a processor of some sort that is controllable via a laptop or an app or something. So could you not have basically built-in wireless transmitter transmits to like your laptop, which is connected to your modeling amp or software? So you'd show up with your guitar and a laptop. You'd have no wireless system if that could work. Huh. Can you see the smoke pouring out? Interesting. You see where I'm going with that? That could be kind of cool. Let's see. Paul says, I try to make my copper look nice, but like you, it has folds, etc., but less messy and accomplishes what it needs to accomplish. Yep. And I have a big roll of it myself. I don't remember where exactly I bought it from. It wasn't from the main luthier tax place. Harry Dude says, just bought paint from a brand called Bear Conductive for a body routing job I have to do soon. We'll let you know how it goes. Yes, I would be curious to hear. I like to know products that work and products that don't, and I don't get a chance to try every single product out there. So yeah, I'd love to hear feedback from all of you. Paul says 15 to 25 foot Bluetooth range. Scott says Bluetooth goes 20 or more. Harry Dude says Bluetooth equals latency. That's a good point. Although, I think the advancements have probably come quite a ways, and I'd be interested in testing it, really. Not saying it would be a perfect thing, but it might be worth messing with. I don't know. Time Surfing says, I've been wondering about Temu shielding tape. Well, there you go. Paul says it works just fine. I haven't even really gone on that Temu. I don't know. Something about it. I know that they have stuff that obviously is good and usable. I just haven't spent any time looking on there. Sam says, imagine the group plays with each other over YouTube live stream, but with direct guitar links. That would be kind of cool. Live stream from all different areas, and it's a band playing or something. Paul says, it's standard copper foil tape and works great. I'll have to check that out. Mike says, stick with woodworking. Sorry, Mike. Thought I heard music playing. Oh, boy. Anyway. Sorry, Mike. I'll reel it back in. Heritage says, too much latency across the internet. No one would be in time with anyone else. That's true. And Paul said, used to use aluminum tape, but I like the look of the copper better. Yeah, I agree. But I have seen on the back of a lot of strap pick guards, or those kind of pick guards, it's like a aluminum foil tape. Time Servant says, looks like shielding is back on the menu. Yeah, that's how we roll, right? We'll just be chatting along, and all of a sudden a topic will turn into the topic. That's how we roll. Sam says to Harry, dude, that's why I said imagine. YouTube lag says it is. Oh, yeah, imagine. Gotcha. It says if testing, Scott says if testing, get the latest version of Bluetooth. Paul says GTQ wireless portable guitar transmitter, $90 for the set. Time Surfing Alien says, my wife deleted her Temu app last month. This month, she was amazed that she had a couple of hundred extra. Funny how that works, huh? Partly, probably why I don't know. I don't use shopping apps for anything. If I got to order something, I go and sit at the computer because it's way easier to just sit on your phone and go click, buy, click, buy. I feel like it slows me down. And I'm more deliberate if I actually sit at the computer, and stroll around. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how I do it. Paul says, and you can solder to the copper tape. Yes, I do that too. I'll solder a ground right to the copper. I think though with the paint on stuff, I think you can put like a screw in there and connect or a terminal or something and connect that to the conductive paint as well. Yep. Yeah, I think I'll stick with, at least for now, I'll stick with my wireless setup that I have. And yeah, I don't know. But that Bluetooth thing is interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that and see what those what electronics comes with a jack like that. It's kind of wild. Anybody have a source for that, for a jack like that with the Bluetooth jack, output jack? I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy technology. Well, with that being said, we are at the top of the hour, everyone. And you know what that means? I got to get to work. I got to drill a hole for some electronics. I got to get a neck mounted. Get some pickups installed. Do some wiring. I want to hear some bass. How low can you go? So that's my goal. Over the next day or two, I'm hoping to get this thing wrapped up. Got some other projects I want to get to, but I'm not getting to them till these are done. I think we talked about that a week or two ago. Like I gotta stay focused and get some things wrapped up. What did I do? I was gonna show you something really quick, but I don't know where it is. So anyway, guys, thanks a lot for hanging out. I appreciate it. Hanging out here, always my pleasure to hang out with all of you. I enjoy it, and it's one of the highlights of my week. Paul says, finally started working on trying to learn to play guitar. Have a great week, everyone. Right on, Paul. That's awesome. Go for it. Sam says, thanks for the stream today, Jeff. Thank you, Sam. Sam says, be safe. Drissy Guitar says, cheers. Time Surfing Alien says, guitars are going to be wild in 10 years. Boy, you got that right. You are correct. Paul says it's a lefty. At least you don't have to put too much work into it. Thanks, Paul. What about this one? What about this one? Do I have to put work into this one? Anyway, that's what I'm going to be working on for the next couple of days. Getting these done. I got the strings. I got everything. Just got to get it together. So get it together, man. Get it together. Dave says, thanks, Jeff. KK says, be safe, brothers. Paul says, it's worth it. Yeah. Time surfing. Nice. Hey, dude says, cheers, folks. Stay well. Catch you all next week. Robert says, everyone stay safe and healthy. Again, you guys, go have some fun. Enjoy your week. Get out there, work on some projects, play some music, do whatever it is you enjoy doing, and have an awesome week. Stay safe. Stay well. Thanks a lot for watching. And like always, we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Later.